Nice meeting you. Hey, how are you? Good to see you. Hey, how are you? I'm from Canada. Morning, how are you? Sorry for keeping you waiting.
This is, we took up this space 2 months ago. We're trying to expand.
2 months ago?
2 months ago.
Hi, so I'm Kago Kanishiri, and I have a mobile learning company.
Mobile learning.
Although for me, I dropped out of school. Actually dropped out of school 3 times. I hated school a lot, and it's basically we had the internet. I had the internet, access to the internet at a very young age, and I realized that the things that were pushing my curiosity, making me want to learn more, I was receiving on the computer, but I wasn't getting it at school. And obviously, the reason we founded ENESA is because we are seeing that school is not the place to unlock curiosity and potential of students. Especially when you look at a lot of the new young populations are coming from most of the rural areas. Who's going to be able to show these students that big things are possible? And so basically at ENESA what we do is we use the phones that they already have, so very simple 1G, 2G phones, to deliver interactive two-way content for their local curriculum, for important content that they need in life, whether that's being able to navigate the business courses, whether that's on how to be a gentleman, how to add value to the society. And we also have personal coaching, so students can actually ask questions and receive questions from real teachers on the platform, just with very simple phones that they have in their family.
Very interesting. So do you have any competitors, or do you have anything doing the same thing like that?
Well, now we are seeing a lot of people sort of starting into this space. I think what we have an edge over all the other competitors is that our telecom partnerships, we've been able to innovate this weekly subscription model that a lot of people haven't been able to figure it out. And I think that's also why we've been able to sort of last for 6 years, because in the edtech space, you have to show that you can drive market adoption of your product.
Today, internet and mobile probably is the best university that I've ever had. You can communicate with all of the world. So I think the ideas you've got are fantastic. The only thing is that as an entrepreneur, that never build up a good team and set the big vision, but milestones, and go on, never give up. You might have a lot of problems, right? But you can see the problem you're facing, your competitor will face it too. And you think you have a lot of tough days, but your competitor may have a much easier. You never know, right? So you say that the competition with you is not is the speed of solving the problems.
For us, our story is very similar, like everybody else. We found a space on the other side. We found that entrepreneurs were working in isolation. Everybody was working from their home or from a coffee shop. And we needed to bring them together because of my business experience. I, like Kago, dropped out of university second year. Long story, we couldn't afford it because I needed to pay for my siblings' school fees. And I had done a lot of manual labor before that. So I started my first company, I failed. Started my second one, I failed. And then my third company started working, which was buying domain names from Bulgaria, buying them at about $35 and selling them at $150 in Kenya. The reason there was a business opportunity was because people didn't have credit cards, and this was the only company that accepted Western Union. So I'd ask, do you want a domain name? I'll sell you a domain name. I'll come and I'll get the domain name for $35, sell it at $150 and support it for a year. And then I was lucky enough to meet Anna, who is right over here. And she invested 50,000 euros for an incubation hub. Yes, so that was the beginning. Yeah. So Anna invested 50,000 euros for an incubation hub. We agreed that we'll bring all the young entrepreneurs we can, so we share a lot of knowledge and skills and that. Dr. Mkisa Kitui, these are the young entrepreneurs.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, last year, September, with the support and assistance of some of the most powerful people in the world, I managed to get Jack Ma to be a special envoy of UNCTAD for youth and small business. In that act, he becomes the most expensive employee I have ever had, with the status of an Assistant Secretary General of the United Nations. One of the main things that made me look for Jack, and I shared with him over 2 years of things at Davos, at the World Economic Forum, is partly the story he has to tell. The tenacity of saying falling is ordinary, rising after a fall is what takes genius, what takes guts. And that in the reality of the marketplaces, most small businesses have high mortality rates. Very many businesses failed. But how would you keep trying again after it has failed? That narrative I thought needed to be told to the world. But there was a second thing. Some of you have just listened to me, that I will mention. By the end of 2015, global electronic commerce reached 25 trillion US dollars. That's roughly close to the combined wealth of the top 100 enterprises in the world. As I bring Jack Ma on his first ever trip to Africa, actually originally we were supposed to have the entire trip in Nairobi, but because of Kenya's ability to suspend economics when it's going to an election, I said, okay, we'll have this trip to Rwanda, but on our way there we must stop in Kenya. And I'm glad that we created this possibility. And our stop to Kenya for me was first and foremost to give Jack a chance to talk to this audience. And to this, give this audience a chance to interrogate Jack.
First, let's tell us your story. Just the first 3 years. We've watched the YouTube videos. We love them. We're inspired by them. Just the first 3 years. How did you do this? How did you do this? We want to hear it firsthand, don't we? Yes, I think that's a very good place to start.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. This is my first morning in Africa, and I'm expecting this day for a long, long time. Well, this is the best gift I've ever got from Dr. Kutui. That this morning, talking to you guys, reminds me of my early days. And I see from your eyes, from your heart, what you tell is the passion, the inspirations, the dream that you have. I remember 1995 when I came back from the States. I visited USA for 29 days, and I discovered the internet. So I came back to China and said, I want to do something called internet. But there is no such word called internet before, and there's no such word called internet on the dictionary. So the government does not let me to register a company called internet. Since I had no background on technology, know nothing about computer. Even to today, I know very little about computers, because I don't think you have to know anything before you do it. The great thing I see from your eyes that I know you don't have a lot of know-hows, and those people have a lot of know-hows don't want to do it. The entrepreneurs, you start with a dream, you start with a belief, and you also have to start with a group of people believe the dream. So I came back to China and I said I want to do something called internet. China was not even connected to the internet in 1994. So it was very difficult to convince some people there's something called internet. That was tough. People say you're telling a lie. But I know this thing exists, and I know it takes time to convince some people. By convincing people, it's not convincing people by words. You have to convince people by results. I made a lot of speech in the early days, and even now I'm still talking to a lot of people. I came here today not to sell in China products, because you have got enough Chinese products. I came here to share with you the entrepreneur spirit and the dreams. This is what I learned from the other part of the world. I learned from the American dreams. I learned from many other startups in the whole world that the dream, how they do it. I think the very important is that making sure your dream can be realized, making sure your dream makes steps by step every week, every month, and making sure that your employees believe it, making sure your customers are happy. Because if your customer happy, your employees are happy, the shareholder will be happy. Do not try to spend a lot of time with your shareholders. Spend enough time with your customers. Spend enough time with your employees. And even do not spend a lot of time with competitors, because we are all so early stage. The best way to compete, to fight against your competitor is your customers, is your colleagues. So it was early days was tough.